Hi there, it's Uzo here from Integrated Clinical Strength and Conditioning. So today's video, tutorial is really for the early career physiotherapist. A goal, what we're going to do here is we're going to unpick, some of the, if you like, some of the controversies and to a certain extent some of the nonsense really around, how you should prescribe exercise, for the average patient. Now, clearly, the average patient is problematic in itself, because we don't often have the average patient. But let's be honest, most of the patients that we're managing on a day-to-day basis, unless you work in elite sport or you work in a occupational environment such as the military, the police, or the fire brigade, they're unlikely, to need high-level physical activity and programming for that as well, unless they're nearing the end of their rehabilitation. So for the average person that walks through the door, let's be honest, what we really need to be doing is we need to be getting, dare I say, our 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions absolutely spot on. Why is that? Let's unpick why 3 sets of 10 is actually okay. Firstly, so 3 sets of 10 gets a bad rep. Now, fundamentally, 3 sets of 10, if done properly, so if done with no reps in reserve, and what I mean by repetitions in reserve, the patient has no gas left in the tank. So a 10 repetition maximum is just that. By the time they get to 10, they cannot do 11. If they can do 11, it's not 3 times 10. It's not a 10 RM. Fundamentally, if we had the ability, to do a 1 RM test, so a 1 repetition maximum test, which is one of the gold standard field tests, for testing maximal force expression, 3 sets of 10 roughly equates to about 70% of the 1 RM. Now, tell me, how many patients, you manage, would not get strong with 3 sets of 10 repetitions? That's 70% of their 1 RM, Fundamentally, what goes wrong is we underdose our patients at that 3 times 10. So, you heard it here first. 3 times 10, most of the time, is okay for most of our patients. Why? So let's unpick why 3 times 10 is okay. So we've already said that it's about 70% of our max. But there's more to it than that. So fundamentally, most of our patients that come through the door, what we're aiming to do is we're aiming to improve their strength, because yes, we want to improve their strength because we've said that that's an outcome goal or there's an outcome marker associated with that. It's not going to be their maximal expression of strength, so right at the highest of the high, we're not going to make them the strongest of the strong, but they are going to get strong with 3 times 10 because it's 70% of their 1 RM. That's the first thing. Secondly, if you decide, and many of the patients we see, they are weak, Now fundamentally, the underlying mechanistic change that we want to happen is we want for those muscles, to improve their force generating capacity. So what does that mean? In essence, what that means is if we want them to improve their force generating capacity, often what we're looking for, or what will change that rather, is an increase in the cross-sectional area of that muscle. Therefore, hypertrophy is a target. So an increase in muscle and tendon mass is a target. So 3 sets of 10 would hit that number. Because what we know when we look at some of the physiological adaptations that actually underpin hypertrophy, what drives it, or mechanistically, is either an increase in muscle tension will drive hypertrophy. Muscle damage will drive hypertrophy. And metabolic accumulation, so an increase in hydrogen ions, so making, okay, that muscle and the underlying cellular tissue more acidotic, that will also improve hypertrophy. Now, think about this logically, okay? Muscle damage, we may not necessarily want that in our particular patient group. So our patient that has osteoarthritis, okay, primary pathology of the knee, okay, it's a sore knee anyway, we might not necessarily want to increase their, if you like, their perception of pain and such like by trying to induce muscle soreness. We might not, we might, but we might not. So in terms of muscle tension, okay, yes, we can apply and we can use muscle tension, but muscle tension, high levels of muscle tension are right at the other end of the continuum. So where they essentially lie, okay, is it essentially lies around about that sort of 1 up to about 4 repetition mark. So you'll get some hypertrophy with that. Of course you will, but you'll get a lot of strength development with that as well. But actually, it's right at that end of the continuum. And the fundamental problem here is that most of those changes are going to be neural in nature. Okay? So the changes are not going to be long-standing. Because what we're looking for, fundamentally, is structural change. If we can get a structural change for our patient, so an increase in cross-sectional area, okay, then that strength is likely to stay for a longer period of time. That's one. Okay? So the takeaway there is that actually what we want to be is we want to be in that sort of 8 to 14 repetition mark range. Why? Because what we do is we get kind of the best of both worlds. We get a higher level of muscle tension, okay, not too much muscle damage, but we get some metabolic accumulation as well as we move out towards that 14 repetition mark. So 3 times 10 is okay. You can go up to 14. You can stay around about 8. But that's a nice window, okay, for you to work from an exercise prescription perspective. Now, we've done a lot of talking about muscle, but what about tendon and connective tissue? Fundamentally, you can cut to the chase. No one actually knows, okay, what the most appropriate dosage is for improving tendon mass or improving connective tissue mass. So what we can do here is we can take a sensible, logical leap and say, well, if actually, okay, we cause hypertrophy of muscle, there's a pretty good chance that actually we're going to improve, okay, connective tissue mass and tendon mass, okay, using a very similar dosage. The worst that can happen is we make the muscle stronger, we increase their cross-sectional area, and there's a very small knock-on effect to tendon and muscle. So, you heard it here first. Call to action, guys, is to stop worrying about this 3 times 10. I'm not saying that the other rep ranges are not important, but for the vast majority of our patients that walk through the door that don't have high athletic or occupational aspirations, 3 times 10 will suffice if done properly, if there's only 1 or no reps left in reserve. You heard it here first. Okay, speak to you soon. Bye for now.